Her hands were trembling. Not because she was nervous. Because she was trapped. The church doors opened slowly, the heavy wood groaning as sunlight spilled across polished marble floors. Every head turned. Every whisper sharpened. Every eye measured her worth. She walked forward in a borrowed white gown that didn't quite fit her shoulders. The lace was too stiff. The veil too long. It dragged behind her like a reminder of everything she had sacrificed. At the end of the aisle stood her groom. He didn't smile. He didn't even straighten. He simply waited. Wrinkled skin sagged along his jaw. Gray, thinning hair clung to his scalp in uneven strands. His posture curved inward, crooked and frail, as though the weight of decades had pressed him down. But his eyes were cold. Not weak. Not tired. Cold. A murmur rippled through the pews. She sold herself. He's older than her father. Poor thing had no choice. The words weren't quiet enough. She heard every one of them. Her name was Lina Moretti. 22 years old. Top of her university class. Daughter of a mechanic who died too young and a mother whose illness devoured savings like fire devours wood. 3 months ago, creditors had pounded on their apartment door. Court notices. Final warnings. Auction letters. The hospital had refused further treatment without payment. And then he appeared. Mr. Victor Laurent. A wealthy, reclusive businessman nearly 4 decades her senior. He paid every debt. Cleared every notice. Restored her mother's treatment. Purchased the mechanic shop back from foreclosure. In exchange, he wanted a wife. The priest's voice echoed in the cathedral ceiling, but the words felt distant. Hollow. Ritual without meaning. Do you, Lina Moretti, take? Yes. She said it before the priest could finish. Not because she wanted to. Because hesitation would make it worse. The old man turned his head slowly toward her. Up close, the wrinkles looked deeper. The lines around his mouth sharper. His breath steady. Controlled. The priest prompted him. Do you, Victor Laurent? I do. His voice scraped low through the air. And then he reached forward. His gloved hands lifted her veil. Gasps filled the church. Not because of her. Because of him. Seeing him beside her like that, youth pressed against decay, made the arrangement undeniable. Ugly. Transactional. Cruel. Her cheeks burned. The guests didn't clap. They stared. And then it happened. He leaned closer, just enough that only she could hear. You agreed, he murmured. The scent of expensive cologne reached her before the words settled. Now you belong to me. The sentence was quiet. Measured. Possessive. A chill slid down her spine. Belong. Not marry. Not protect. Belong. The priest announced them husband and wife. Polite applause followed, thin and uncomfortable. Lina's mother wept in the front row, not from joy. From relief. Relief that the hospital bills were gone. Relief that collectors would never knock again. Relief that her daughter had paid the price. Victor offered his arm. His grip was stronger than it looked. Too strong. She felt it immediately. Beneath the glove, beneath the spotted skin, his hand was firm. Steady. Not trembling like someone of his age should be. A flicker of confusion sparked in her chest. They turned toward the church doors. Flashbulbs burst from outside. Reporters had gathered. The scandal of it was irresistible. Young beauty marries aging recluse billionaire. The doors closed behind them with a heavy thud. Silence. No more whispers. No more judgmental eyes. Just the two of them in the echoing corridor that led toward the private exit. For the first time, she allowed herself to breathe. And that's when she noticed it. His posture straightened. Not fully. Just slightly. Enough to erase a fraction of the frailty. His cane never touched the ground. Not once. He walked without leaning. Without dragging. Without shaking. Her heart skipped. Are you comfortable? He asked. The voice was wrong. Still low. Still controlled. But smoother. Clearer. Younger. It didn't match the face. She looked up at him slowly. His eyes were watching her, not like an old man claiming a bride. Like a strategist studying a reaction. The air between them shifted. Something was off. Deeply off. And as the limousine door opened and she prepared to step inside the life she had just traded herself for, one question began to form in her mind. Who did I just marry? The gates opened without a sound. Not slowly. Not dramatically. Just efficiently. Black iron parted as the limousine rolled forward, tires whispering over a perfectly paved driveway that stretched toward a mansion too large to be called a house. It was not a home. It was an institution. Cold stone columns rose toward a darkened sky. Windows reflected nothing back. No warmth. No welcome. Just symmetry. Precision. Control. Lena felt it before she stepped out. This was not where people lived. This was where power resided. The driver opened her door first. Not his. Always protocol. Always deliberate. She stepped onto polished stone steps that mirrored the church floor. Smooth, flawless, almost sterile. The massive wooden doors opened before she could touch them. Servants stood inside. Perfectly aligned. Perfectly still. Not curious. Not smiling. Watching. "Welcome home, Mrs. Laurent," one woman said, her voice measured and neutral. Home. The word felt foreign. Victor stepped out of the limousine behind her. The moment his shoes touched the ground, the entire staff subtly straightened. Not dramatically. Not theatrically. But noticeably. Respect. No. More than respect. Obedience. Inside, the air was cooler than outside. The marble floors stretched endlessly beneath crystal chandeliers. Every step echoed. Every breath sounded too loud. She wrapped her arms lightly around herself. Not from cold. From awareness. Victor removed his gloves slowly. Deliberately. "You may retire for the evening," he told the staff. They did not hesitate. They vanished. Not one questioned him. Not one lingered. The doors shut behind them. The silence deepened. He turned toward her. "For this to function," he began, his tone steady, "there will be rules." Not a request. A structure. She nodded once. Rule number 1. You will not leave the estate without informing me. Informing. Not asking. The distinction mattered. Rule number 2. You are not to enter the West Wing. Her eyes flickered instinctively down the long corridor to her left. It disappeared into shadow. "What's in the West Wing?" she asked quietly. A pause. Not long. But calculated. "That is not your concern." Rule number 3. Dinner is at 7. Punctuality is important. Rule number 4. You will not inquire about my business. He studied her as he spoke, as if measuring resistance. She showed none. Not because she was submissive. Because she was observing. Lena had grown up calculating every expense, every decision, every consequence. Poverty teaches precision. It teaches silence. It teaches you to watch before you speak. "I understand," she replied. Her voice did not shake. His gaze lingered a moment longer than necessary. Then he turned and began walking toward the staircase. And that was when she saw it. He did not limp. Not really. The cane tapped the marble floor, but his weight never leaned into it. His back straightened subtly once he believed she wasn't looking. Fluid. Controlled. Too fluid. For a man whose hands were veined and spotted. Too strong for someone whose posture suggested fragility. Her pulse quickened. He climbed the staircase without strain. Not slowly. Not cautiously. With balance. With rhythm. Halfway up he paused. "Your room is prepared," he said without turning. "Across from mine." Across. Not with. Not yet. A small mercy. Or another test. She followed. The bedroom doors opened to reveal a space larger than her entire childhood apartment. Silk drapes. Carved furniture. A balcony overlooking acres of manicured land. It should have felt luxurious. It felt monitored. Later that evening, she walked the hallway alone. Portraits lined the walls, Laurent ancestors. Powerful men. Severe expressions. Generations of control. And then she noticed something else. Cameras. Discreet. Embedded near ceiling corners. Security panels near every exit. The estate was not just protected. It was fortified. Why would an aging recluse need this level of surveillance? At precisely 7, a knock sounded. Dinner. They sat across from one another at a table long enough to separate continents. Silverware gleamed under candlelight. He removed his gloves again. His hands were steady. Strong. She tested him. "Your company," she began casually, "I heard it owns several." "I said no questions," he interrupted gently. Not harsh. But firm. His eyes locked onto hers. Sharp. Clear. Young. For just a second, the mask slipped. Not physically. Emotionally. His voice dropped lower. Cleaner. Less strained. You agreed to the terms. There it was again. Terms. This was not a marriage. It was an arrangement. She lowered her gaze, not in submission, but in strategy. Of course. Silence fell between them again. But not empty silence. Charged silence. That night, she lay awake long after the house had settled. The air hummed faintly with distant electronics. Somewhere, a door clicked shut. Footsteps. Measured. She rose from bed quietly and approached the balcony doors. Below, moonlight spilled across the gardens. And then she saw him. Victor. Walking along the stone path. Alone. No servant. No security. No cane. He moved smoothly. Confidently. His back straight. His stride long. Not the shuffle of an old man. Not the hesitation of fragile bones. He stopped beneath a garden light. And for one brief second, he rolled his shoulders. As if releasing tension. As if shedding weight. She held her breath. Because in that movement, he did not look old at all. And suddenly, the rules felt different. The estate felt different. The marriage felt different. And the question that had followed her from the church returned, louder now. Who exactly is Victor Laurent? The estate did not change. But Lena did. By the third morning, she had stopped reacting. And started studying. The routine was precise. Breakfast delivered at 8. Ground swept by 9. Security rotations every 2 hours. A car arriving at 10 sharp, though Victor never seemed to leave in it. Everything moved with discipline. Except him. He remained unpredictable. And unpredictability, in a controlled environment, is the loudest alarm. It happened in the hallway outside the library. She turned the corner too quickly. Collided into him. Her body hit solid muscle. Not frailty. Not bone wrapped in age. Solid. His hands caught her instantly. Not the shaky reflex of an elderly man. The grip was firm. Strong. Stable. Her waist fit easily beneath his palms. For half a second, neither of them moved. She felt it. The strength. The control. The steadiness of his breath. His eyes flickered. Not apologetic. Not startled. Calculating. Careful, he said quietly. But his voice slipped. Deeper. Cleaner. Younger. She pulled back slowly. I'm sorry. He released her, but not before she noticed something else. There were no tremors in his hands. Not even slight ones. He stepped away, adjusted his jacket, and the posture returned. Shoulders dipped. Chin lowered. The illusion resumed. But it had cracked. And once something cracks, it never looks the same again. That afternoon, curiosity overpowered caution. The West Wing waited at the end of a long corridor, dimmer than the rest of the house. No artwork. No decorative lighting. Just a door. Locked. Of course. But wealth protects secrets. It doesn't always hide them well. She waited until the household staff shifted for evening preparations. Watched their patterns. Timed their movements. Then she tried the handle. Unlocked. Her pulse spiked. The room beyond was nothing like the rest of the mansion. No antique furniture. No velvet drapes. Instead, glass. Steel. Technology. An entire wall of screens glowed in low light. Financial charts. International markets. Security feeds. Satellite tracking. This wasn't an old man's office. This was a command center. A digital empire pulsed on every monitor. One screen displayed a live ticker from New York. Another from Tokyo. Another from London. Global. Powerful. Alive. She stepped closer. And that's when she saw the photograph. Framed near a sleek black desk. A man in his early 30s. Sharp jawline. Intense eyes. Tailored suit. Standing at a business summit podium. Cameras flashing. The headline beneath the photo read, Tech Billionaire Reinvents Global Infrastructure Strategy. The name below it, Victor Laurent. Her stomach tightened. The face in the photo was not wrinkled. Not gray. Not fragile. He was young. Handsome. Commanding. The eyes were identical. Cold. Intelligent. Strategic. The same eyes she had seen watching her at dinner. Her breath grew shallow. The photo looked recent. Very recent. Not a relic from decades ago. She stepped backward slowly. A soft mechanical hum filled the room. Then, a subtle click. The lights dimmed. She froze. But nothing happened. No alarm. No confrontation. The house remained silent. Too silent. She slipped out, closed the door behind her, and walked back to her room with her heartbeat echoing in her ears. That evening, a package arrived. Delivered discreetly. Inside were books she had mentioned once, in passing, to no one but her mother. First editions. Rare prints. Her favorites. Attached was no note. But she knew. Later that week, she called home. Her mother answered breathless. "Lena, the landlord said someone paid for renovations. The roof is fixed. The wiring. Everything. They said it was anonymous." Anonymous. She didn't ask who. She already knew. Yet when distant relatives appeared at the gate days later, the same ones who had mocked her sacrifice, security turned them away before they could speak to her. Victor stood behind the gates that afternoon. Silent. Watching. He did not smile. Did not boast. But he ensured no one humiliated her again. Emotional contradiction. Cold husband. Silent protector. At dinner that night, candles flickered between them. The distance across the table felt intentional. She studied him. The slight delay before he lifted utensils. The deliberate curve in his spine. The careful modulation of his voice. "Why me?" she asked suddenly. The words landed softly. But the air shifted. He did not answer immediately. 1 second. 2. 3. Too long. His eyes held hers. And for the first time, something vulnerable flickered beneath the performance. "You were suitable," he said at last. Suitable. Not beautiful. Not kind. Not intelligent. Suitable. Her jaw tightened. "For what?" she pressed gently. His gaze darkened. "That is enough." The finality in his tone closed the subject. But not her suspicion. That night, sleep refused to come. Her mind replayed the photo. The screens. The strength in his hands. Near midnight, she stepped quietly into the hallway. The door across from hers was slightly open. Light spilled onto the floor. She hesitated. Then moved closer. The bathroom inside his suite was empty. Steam lingered faintly in the air. On the counter. Small containers. Medical-grade adhesive. Skin-tone prosthetic edges. A makeup sponge stained with foundation several shades darker than natural skin. Her fingers trembled as she touched the edge of something rubber-like. Wrinkled. Artificial. Her breath caught. Behind her. A floorboard creaked. She turned slowly. Heart pounding. And the realization settled in with chilling clarity. The old man she married was never old at all. The house did not sleep that night. It waited. Lena stood frozen in the bathroom doorway, prosthetic latex trembling between her fingers. The truth was no longer suspicion. It was physical. Tangible. Manufactured. A lie you could peel off. Behind her, the floorboard creaked again. Slow. Measured. She turned. Victor stood at the end of the corridor. In shadow. The overhead light caught only half his face. Wrinkles carved deep, posture bent, cane resting lightly against the marble. But his eyes were not old. They were alert. Sharp. And very aware. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched. Then, a deafening crash exploded from downstairs. Glass shattered. An alarm blared, low at first, then escalating into a piercing siren that cut through the entire estate. Victor did not flinch. He did not look confused. He did not look afraid. He looked prepared. "Go back to your room," he said calmly. Another crash. Footsteps. Fast. Multiple. Not staff. Too aggressive. Too heavy. Security lights flickered across the hallway. Red. Flashing. Lena's heart pounded violently. "What's happening?" she whispered. His voice changed. Dropped. Lost the tremor. "It seems," he said evenly, "we have uninvited guests." 3 masked figures stormed into the foyer below, their boots striking marble. Black tactical gear. Weapons drawn. Efficient. Coordinated. This wasn't a robbery. It was an operation. One intruder barked orders. "West Wing. Secure the servers." Servers. Not jewelry. Not cash. They knew exactly what they were after. Corporate sabotage. Victor's gaze shifted toward the staircase. In one fluid motion. He straightened. The cane fell. Not dropped. Discarded. His spine uncurled. His shoulders squared. And for the first time, Lena saw his true height. His true build. There was no hesitation. No stiffness. He moved. Fast. Too fast. He descended the staircase with controlled precision, grabbing one intruder's wrist mid-stride. The weapon clattered to the floor. A sharp twist. A calculated strike to the throat. The man collapsed instantly. No wasted motion. No panic. Professional. Another attacker lunged. Victor pivoted cleanly, disarming him with surgical efficiency. The movements weren't wild. They were trained. Practiced. Ruthless. Lena stumbled backward as the third intruder rushed upstairs. Straight toward her. She froze. The man's eyes locked onto her. He raised his weapon. And before she could scream, Victor appeared between them. Explosive. He drove the intruder against the wall with crushing force. The impact rattled the framed portraits. A precise elbow. A calculated knee. The man dropped, breathing hard. But Victor did not. His chest rose steadily. Controlled. Calculated. The wig shifted during the struggle. Just slightly. Enough. Lena saw it. Smooth skin beneath the hairline. No age spots. No sagging flesh. The latex along his jaw loosened where sweat had broken the adhesive. A sliver of youth revealed itself under the mask. The sirens stopped. Security teams flooded in seconds later, dragging the intruders away. The house returned to silence. But nothing was the same. Victor stood in the center of the foyer, his back to her. His breathing slow. Controlled. The posture of an old man was gone. In its place. Strength. Authority. Power. She descended the stairs carefully. Each step heavier than the last. He turned when he heard her. The wig now slightly askew. The wrinkled prosthetic peeling at the edges of his temple. She stared. Not at the damage. At the deception. "Who are you?" she asked. Her voice did not tremble. It cut clean through the marble hall. He held her gaze. For the first time since the wedding. He did not perform. "You weren't supposed to see that," he replied quietly. Not defensive. Not angry. Just resigned. The words hung in the air. Not supposed to. As if her ignorance had been part of a plan. As if her confusion had been designed. Her chest tightened. "You lied to me." A pause. Yes. No denial. No excuse. Up close now, she could see the separation where skin-tone silicone met real skin. The illusion was unraveling. "You let me marry a stranger," she said, her voice cracking just slightly. "You let me humiliate myself for a man who doesn't even exist." His jaw tightened. "He exists," he said. "Just not the way you think." Her eyes burned. "Then show me." The challenge wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was final. For a long moment, he didn't move. The house was silent again. Security cleared the last of the chaos. Staff remained hidden, as trained. It was just them now. The truth suspended between them. Slowly, he reached up. His fingers gripped the edge of the wig. Pulled. The gray hair came off cleanly. Beneath it, dark, thick, untouched by time. He peeled at the prosthetic along his jaw next. The wrinkles lifted away. One strip at a time. Latex separating from skin. The old man dissolving. She watched without blinking. Watched as decades vanished in seconds. Watched as the fragile husband she had pitied disappeared. And standing before her was the man from the photograph. Young. Handsome. Dangerous. Victor Laurent. Not 65. 32. His eyes never left hers as the final piece of the mask dropped to the marble floor. Silence swallowed the room. And Lena realized. She had never been married to an old man. She had been married to a secret. The last piece of latex hit the marble floor with a sound far too small for what it represented. A life. An identity. A deception measured in layers. Lena stood at the base of the staircase, her breath shallow, her pulse thundering in her ears as the man she had married, the man she had pitied, stood before her completely transformed. No wrinkles. No thinning gray hair. No crooked posture. Victor Laurent. 32 years old. Sharp jawline. Dark, intelligent eyes. Controlled strength in every line of his body. The old man had been a costume. And she had been the audience. For several seconds, neither of them moved. The shattered glass had been cleared. The intruders removed. The estate restored to silence. But the real damage was still standing between them. You're not, her voice faltered, not from weakness, from recalibration. You're not who I married. He didn't deny it. I am exactly who you married, he said quietly. Just not the version you saw. The distinction felt cruel. She descended the final step slowly, her gaze never leaving his face, searching for cracks, for guilt, for something that would make sense of this. Start talking. Not a request. A demand. He inhaled once, measured. I'm 32, he began. Founder and majority shareholder of Loron Global Systems. The name landed differently now. Not as an aging recluse. But as a global force. 3 months ago, there were 2 confirmed assassination attempts, he continued evenly. Both orchestrated through social access points. People invited into my proximity. Her stomach tightened. He went on. My competitors don't just fight in boardrooms. They infiltrate families. Marriages. Friendships. The house felt colder. I can't afford to trust the wrong person. There it was. Trust. Not love. Not companionship. Trust. So you pretended to be old? She asked, disbelief threading through every syllable. Yes. The answer came without shame. I needed someone outside elite networks. Someone not already embedded in wealth circles. Someone whose background couldn't be exploited. And you chose me. Not honored. Selected. He nodded once. I researched you for months. The words hit harder than the deception. You what? You worked 2 jobs through university. You turned down offers from wealthy clients who tried to help your family. You refused money unless it was earned. When your father died, you paid his debts before paying your tuition. Her chest tightened. He knew everything. I needed someone who wouldn't chase wealth, he said. Someone who would hate it if it came with conditions. A pause. Then. I needed someone who would hate the wealth. Not chase it. The sentence settled heavy in the air. It wasn't romantic. It was clinical. You studied me, she whispered. Yes. You tested me. Silence. His jaw tightened slightly. Yes. The honesty felt brutal. Her mind raced backward. The church, the whispers, the humiliation, the public judgment. You let me stand in front of everyone like that, she said, her voice beginning to sharpen. You let them think I sold myself to an old man. His eyes flickered. I needed the illusion to be convincing. Convincing, she repeated. He stepped closer. Not threatening. Not aggressive. Just honest. I've been betrayed before, he said quietly. By someone who claimed to love me. She loved the access. The power. The lifestyle. When it benefited her. The vulnerability in his tone was subtle, but real. I won't make that mistake again. So you made me the experiment? She asked. Her composure was cracking now. You built a marriage on suspicion. His silence was confirmation. You manipulated me, she said finally. The words landed heavier than any accusation. He didn't argue. I protected you, he corrected. Her laugh was hollow. By lying to me? I cleared your family's debts without expecting gratitude. You expected obedience. A flicker of something passed through his eyes. Regret. Maybe. You were never in danger from me, he said. No, she replied, voice steady now. Just from the truth. The house seemed to shrink around them. All the marble. All the chandeliers. All the controlled perfection. It felt like a stage. And she had been cast without consent. You married me because I was poor, she said quietly. Because you thought poverty meant integrity. I married you because you had nothing to gain, he corrected. And everything to lose. The silence after that was unbearable. He stepped back slightly, giving her space. For what it's worth, he added softer now, I never intended to hurt you. That might have been the cruelest part. He believed that. He truly believed strategy was kindness. Control was protection. Testing was safety. She felt it all at once. The betrayal. The humiliation. The anger. But beneath it, something worse. Disappointment. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth, she said. I couldn't. You wouldn't. Their eyes locked. And for the first time since she entered the estate, he looked uncertain. Not calculating. Not commanding. Uncertain. You think I would have married you if I knew? She asked. He hesitated. And that hesitation was the answer. Her throat tightened. I deserved a choice. He nodded slowly. Yes. But it was too late. She turned away from him. The man who had fought off intruders without flinching. The man who commanded global markets from hidden screens. The man who could dismantle a corporation in hours. He stood motionless as she walked past him. Up the staircase. Each step deliberate. Each footfall echoing through the mansion. He did not stop her. Did not reach for her. Did not command. For the first time. He let her go. Her bedroom door closed softly behind her. Not slammed. Not dramatic. Just final. Victor remained alone in the foyer, the remnants of his disguise scattered at his feet. And for the first time since he built the illusion, he had no control over what would happen next. Because Lena Moretti had just discovered the truth. And she was no longer a pawn in his game. She was a choice he might lose. The door to her bedroom did not lock. It didn't need to. The silence inside was louder than any bolt. Lena stood in the center of the room, still in the gown she had worn to marry a stranger, and to expose one. The chandeliers below had dimmed. The estate had returned to its controlled calm. But her pulse refused to settle. He had researched her. Selected her. Tested her. And worst of all, he had never trusted her. She walked to the mirror slowly. The reflection staring back at her was not weak. Not naive. Just hurt. And something else. Resolute. A soft knock sounded at her door. Not commanding. Not authoritative. Tentative. She didn't answer immediately. The handle turned slowly. Victor stepped inside. Not the old man. Not the disguise. Him. Dark hair still slightly disordered from the removed wig. Sharp features fully visible. No latex. No cane. No curvature in his spine. For the first time since she had known him. There was no performance. He closed the door behind him quietly. I won't wear it again, he said. No preamble. No justification. I'm done hiding. She faced him. Why now? His jaw tightened. Because I have nothing left to hide from you. She studied him carefully. No tremor. No manipulation in his tone. Just exposure. You built this entire marriage on control, she said evenly. On testing me. On measuring my worth. He didn't interrupt. You don't get to keep control anymore. The shift in the room was immediate. Subtle. But undeniable. For the first time. She was not reacting. She was deciding. If this marriage continues, she said slowly, it continues on my terms. His eyes did not waver. Name them. Truth, she said. He nodded once. Always. No more deception. None. A real marriage. Not a contract. Not an arrangement. A partnership. He inhaled slowly. Yes. And if I choose to walk away, she continued, her voice steady, I walk away with full legal freedom. No retaliation. No financial traps. No conditions. The air felt heavy. He was a man who controlled global markets. Who predicted outcomes. Who eliminated risks. And now, he was being asked to surrender leverage. If you leave, he said carefully, I won't stop you. She watched his face closely. There was no strategy in his expression. Just something raw. Vulnerable. Why? She asked softly. Why go through all of this? He hesitated. And this hesitation was not calculated. It was human. Because I don't trust love, he admitted quietly. The words felt stripped of armor. I trusted it once. She loved the wealth. The influence. The doors my name opened. His gaze dropped briefly before returning to hers. When the power shifted, so did she. His voice lowered. I thought, if someone could stay when I was ugly, when I was undesirable, when there was nothing glamorous about me. He swallowed. Then it would be real. Silence filled the space between them. Not cold. Heavy. Honest. I thought if someone loved me while I was ugly, it would be real. There it was. Not arrogance. Not cruelty. Fear. She saw it clearly now. Not a villain hiding behind a mask. A man hiding behind armor. He had built the disguise not to deceive her, but to protect himself. And in doing so, he had nearly lost the one thing he was trying to secure. You didn't need to be ugly to test me, she said quietly. I know. Too late. But you needed control, she added. Yes. The honesty disarmed her more than any defense could have. She stepped closer. Close enough to see the faint line where adhesive had once been. Close enough to see the exhaustion in his eyes. "You don't control this anymore," she said. He nodded. "I don't want to." That was new. He reached into his jacket pocket slowly. Removed a folded document. Placed it on the dresser between them. "The marriage contract," he said. "Amended. You own half of everything tied to your name. No conditions. No surveillance. No restrictions." She didn't pick it up. Not yet. Instead, she searched his face for manipulation. There was none. Just anticipation. Fear. Hope. "I'm not staying for money," she said. "I know. I'm not staying because you paid my family's debts." "I know." She took a slow breath. "I'm staying because you're finally telling me the truth." The words seemed to land inside him. Not on him. Inside. He stepped forward instinctively. But paused. Waiting. For permission. For choice. She closed the distance. Her fingers touched his jaw gently. Warm. Real. No latex. No illusion. Just skin. For the first time, she saw him fully. Not as an old man. Not as a billionaire. As a man who was afraid to be loved without conditions. And for the first time, she chose him. Not because she had to. Because she wanted to. He leaned in slowly. No urgency. No dominance. Just careful proximity. Their lips met softly. No disguise. No contract between them. No spectators. No whispers. Just choice. And in that quiet room, for the first time, she married the real man. Morning arrived differently. Not cold. Not calculated. Soft. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the estate, spilling gold across marble floors that no longer felt like a prison. Lena stood on the balcony outside her room, the early air cool against her skin. Below, the gardens looked unchanged. But everything had shifted. Inside the house. Inside the marriage. Inside him. Footsteps approached behind her. Not hidden. Not disguised. Victor stepped beside her, no cane, no prosthetics, no curvature in his spine. Just a man, exposed and steady. "I spoke to my legal team," he said quietly. She turned. The tone was different now. Not commanding. Informing. "The original contract is void." He held out a folder. "Everything is transferred as promised. Independent accounts in your name. No clauses. No surveillance authorizations. No estate restrictions." She took the folder slowly. Not because she doubted him anymore. But because the weight of it symbolized something larger. Choice. "You don't have to stay," he said. The words carried no fear this time. Just truth. "I know." And that was enough. Later that week, invitations were sent. Not to elite socialites. Not to competitors. To the press. The world had seen the scandalous wedding of a young woman marrying an aging recluse. Now they would see the truth. The estate gates opened again. Cameras gathered. Reporters lined the driveway, murmuring speculation. Is he ill? Is the marriage already collapsing? Why call a press conference now? Inside, Lena stood beside Victor in the foyer. No disguise kit waited nearby. No cane rested against the wall. This time, there would be no illusion. "Ready?" he asked softly. She looked at him. Really looked. Not at his wealth. Not at his power. At the man who had risked control to learn trust. Yes. They stepped outside together. The flash of cameras was blinding. Questions flew instantly. "Mr. Laurent, are the rumors true? Is your health failing? Why did you marry someone so young?" Victor stepped forward to the podium set at the top of the steps. Lena stood beside him. Not behind. Not hidden. Beside. He let the noise build for a moment. Then, he reached up. The crowd leaned forward instinctively. He removed nothing. Because there was nothing left to remove. "I believe you're expecting someone older," he said calmly. Confusion rippled through the reporters. He continued. "For months, I lived behind a disguise." Gasps. Cameras zoomed in. "I did so because I was targeted. Manipulated. Betrayed." He glanced briefly at Lena. "But this woman," he said, his voice steady and clear, "married me when she believed I had nothing to offer her but a burden." He took her hand. Openly. Proudly. She chose me without knowing who I was. The words silenced the crowd. She endured judgment, whispers, humiliation. And she never once asked for wealth, power, access. He turned slightly toward her. And when she learned the truth, she had every right to walk away. A pause. She stayed. No grand declaration. No spectacle. Just fact. And I am proud to introduce Lena Loron, my wife. Not an arrangement. Not a contract. A wife. The power imbalance dissolved in that single sentence. No more secrecy. No more control games. Just partnership. Weeks later, they returned to the church. Not for a ceremony. Not for spectacle. Just to stand where it had all begun. The pews were empty now. Sunlight filtered through stained glass in quiet colors. Lena walked down the aisle again. But this time, she was not alone. Victor walked beside her. Not ahead. Not waiting at the end. Beside. No whispers filled the air. No pitying glances. No transaction hidden beneath white lace. She stopped halfway down the aisle and looked up at him. You know, she said softly, if you had just told me the truth from the beginning. A faint smile touched his lips. I might not have believed you deserved it. She smiled back. And now? Now I know I didn't deserve you. She squeezed his hand. Not because she needed protection, but because she wanted connection. The same doors that had once closed behind humiliation now stood open. They stepped out together. No disguises. No contracts. No conditions. And as sunlight spilled across the church steps one final time, the truth settled quietly between them. Love isn't about appearances. It's about who stays when there's nothing to gain.